Excuse me. Pardon me.
Hey, sit down.
Personal expectations or audience expectations going into a movie can really affect the way you see a film. If you go in expecting a great movie, you can overhype a movie in your mind a little too much. Or if you wind up expecting something awful and the movie winds up being okay, you can be pleasantly surprised and they can elevate your opinion of a movie. I actually remember way back when a friend of mine saw Fight Club in the theater, and he said it was just okay, but he thought the movie was going to be more like Bloodsport. So, instead of, stuff about consumerism or anything like that. I think one of the best ways to watch a movie, and I was talking to Alec about this, and a couple other film critics, both at New York Asian Film Festival and Tribeca, is to kind of go into a movie blind. You have no expectations. You might not know anything about the movie except for like a brief synopsis, and you can just really appreciate the movie for what it is without any expectations. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that luxury, and even if you got a festival pass or something, it can be expensive, it can take time, it makes you wish you saw another movie instead. So expectations are an interesting thing.
A long time ago to stop having expectations when I go to movies, because anytime I got excited for a movie, it would let me down. And with no expectations, even things like Green Lantern can end up not being completely terrible. Most of the time.
And I think I first became aware of the phenomenon of public opinion affecting my enjoyment of a movie back when I had this gig in Milwaukee. And what I used to do for this website there was called the Dollar Movie Review. They would give me $1 and send me to the budget theater to see a movie. And that created a really interesting environment and an interesting experience, because at the Dollar Movie Theater, in some cases, these films had already been out for weeks at a time, and they were, in some cases, already even out on home video. So the public at large had, by that point, and the critics, already made up their mind about whether or not it was a good movie. So I had preconceived notions going into the film in just about every case. And I found that the more that I'd heard about the movie in advance, the more expectations I had, and the more that it affected my enjoyment of the outcome. Like, I went to go see The Terminal, which had gotten pretty good reviews, the Tom Hanks movie about what essentially became the Edward Snowden story, and he was hanging out in the airport terminal and couldn't go anywhere. I'd heard it was really good, Steven Spielberg movie, good pedigree. I didn't enjoy it as much because, to me, it less than blew me away. But the other side of the coin is, when I went to go see the Halle Berry Catwoman, I kind of walked out thinking, well, that was hardly crap at all, because I'd heard in advance that it was a real turkey. So I think, to a certain extent, hearing anything, reviews, public opinion, about a movie up front can cause baggage going into it. And that's why now, unless of course it's on Flixist, I don't really read any reviews, especially before I go and see a movie.
So as a reviewer, I try not to let expectations affect my opinion on a film, but I think it's only human nature that our expectations of something, we make something live up to the expectations we have for it. So, and that doesn't always happen. I've definitely been surprised by movies and disappointed by others that your expectations don't live up to. But I find myself a lot of the times, if I think I'm going to hate it, I probably hate it more than I would. And if I think I'm going to like it, I probably like it more than I would. I think that's just the name of the game, though. It's not something you can change. You can try your hardest to avoid it, to not have expectations, but it's just not something that can be done.
Generally, I try to go into films as blind as possible, in part because I don't want to have expectations, because expectations are terrible and pretty much always ruin things, negative or positive. When I look at sort of the critical consensus, even though I very frequently disagree with the critical consensus, that does impact how I'm going to see a movie, whether I'm going to see a movie. I'll see it and I'll be thinking, why didn't they like this? Or how did they like this? If I see a good movie that everyone else thinks is good, that's awesome. And I'm happy about that. But the fact that other people thought it was awesome will have almost undoubtedly influenced my expectations. If a movie comes out of nowhere and is amazing, I'd like to be able to find that out for myself. And if something everyone else thinks is awesome comes out and isn't, I have wished that they hadn't told me that. The best example for me would be the terrible, disgusting, horrible documentary Leviathan, which I only saw because a lot of people loved it when it played at Locarno last year, and it got critical acclaim from people who are stupid and don't understand anything about anything, and people like it, and I don't know how they liked it, and it was terrible. And the fact that people liked it made me waste my time. I need to not listen to other people, and that's kind of impossible, which is too bad.